My name is Margot Kearty, and the name of my piece is An Uninvited Visitor. My two sisters, my brother, and my myriad cousins could not escape knowing, as we grew up in Granard, that the house in which we lived was in some way historic. Framed portraits of Michael Collins and Arthur Griffith looked down on us as we ate our meals in the coffee room of the hotel, which was our home. Countess Markievicz had stayed there, we were told, and my four aunts, who had lived here in their youth, had been wooed by some of the nation's heroes. We found all this mildly embarrassing at the time I speak of, which was the late 1940s, when we were all in our teens and with little sense of history. We did, though, know that a great tragedy had occurred in the hotel bar on Halloween 1920, when a young district inspector from Cork had been shot dead there in the presence of my father. As a reprisal, lorry loads of black and tans had descended on Granard a few evenings later and had burned down many buildings in the town, especially those belonging to our family. No wonder my father rarely spoke of those sad times. Of much greater interest to us young people was the fact that when this fine building in which we lived was rebuilt in 1922, no account was taken of modern advances in plumbing. We were therefore left with no mod cons such as hot and cold running water in the bedrooms and a distinct shortage of bathrooms. This meant that in each of the 8 guest bedrooms there was a marble stand on which reposed a flowery Delphure and basin for washing, a carafe of cold water for drinking, not to mention another object which was stored in its own locker, which involved us in unspeakable tasks during the school holidays when we were called upon to pull our weight. Another early morning task was the delivery of a can of hot water to the door of each bedroom, accompanied by loudly calling out the time as requested. Despite all these inconveniences, however, my mother had breathed a new atmosphere into the place when she married my father in 1923. She gardened extensively up the back with help from the yardman Frank Kelly, who had a natural flair for gardening, and between them they got an old grass tennis court back in use. They grew all the vegetables for the hotel, and we spent many summers podding peas and beans in the sunshine, picking fruit for jam, and helping in our shop next door. Peter Dale, the carpenter who worked in the timber yard making the coffins, built a summer house out of 2 old out-of-date carriages and also a greenhouse to grow tomatoes and cucumbers. In the evenings, my mother organised music and card games and a welcome for all. Most of the commercial travellers became part of the family, despite the fact that an order in the shop was conditional on staying in the hotel for their night in Granard. When Anya McMaster and other travelling players came to town, my mother would give them rooms for half nothing, while my father turned a disapproving blind eye. Pádraig Cullen came on visits with his wife Mary and talked poetry and literature. Maureen Scully, the famous traditional singer and collector of folk songs, came to sing in the town hall next door and became another friend. At Christmas, my sisters had parties in the commercial room, with fairy lights and Charlie Dunn from Longford playing the piano for the dance. It certainly was a magical place to live in, but there was always that unspoken understanding that we family members worked as hard as anyone else, both in shop and hotel. Many's the fair day we served, scrubbed and washed dishes in washing soda and hot water until our hands were red and raw.